Falvey, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar. Today we're going to be speaking about Mt Elbrus. Mt Elbrus is the highest mountain in Europe, and it's situated in a fascinating place in the central Caucasus between the Caspian and the Black Sea, which is also, by the way, in Russia, on the borders now of Asia and Europe, and that's what makes it the highest mountain in Europe. Today I'm going to speak a little bit about the skills and techniques that you will need to climb the mountain. I'm going to talk about the route, I'm going to talk about the gear, I'm going to talk about the training. Also, I'm going to talk about high altitude mountaineering, and because of the fact of acclimatization. And as well as that, you will meet and see some of the top guides in the world that I have climbing here. Myself and Irish and Worldwide Adventures, my company, have been coming here for over 25 years, and I've had a fascinating time. It's not alone about climbing the mountain when you're coming down here. You're going into a place that's steeped in history and culture, and have an amazing people that we will actually be dealing with. So for now, what I want to do is I just want to introduce you to a small video. I think it's 2 or 3 minutes long. It will give you an idea of the type of terrain you will be going. Visualization is very, very important to succeed. And in all the expeditions we run all around the world, we try to do this. So for the next 2 or 3 minutes, just sit back, relax. I know that you're all in the comfort of your own home, your office, or indeed you're out socializing somewhere having a pint. So this is the start of the webinar, and as I say, I'll continue from there. Thank you. Well, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the video. And now what we're going to do is I'm just going to go through the presentation for this evening and its agenda. Now what we're going to talk about, as you will see on screen here, we're going to talk about the mountain, the trek itself, what it takes to get the visa, because it is fairly complicated to get the visa here. We'll talk about the altitude and the effects that altitude will have on you so that we can deal with it, and a lot of the health issues that's involved in relating to climbing high altitude mountains. We'll also actually go through the guides and our office, not alone here in Ireland, but also in Russia. The fitness you required, and then the training, gear packing, and we'll talk a little bit about the culture, and we'll actually show some slides as well on Moscow, because lots of you might be interested in staying in Moscow for an add-on few days, or going to St. Petersburg. By the way, this is Mt Elbrus, and let me tell you a little bit about it. As you know, it's situated in Russia, the highest mountain in Europe. It's volcanic, and as you will see here, it's always snow-capped. The altitude, 5,642 meters, which by the way is 18,510 feet. Just in case you didn't realize, it's a little bit less than 19,340 of Kilimanjaro. Its world ranking, it is one of the 7 summits, and the duration that we will be going to Russia for is 14 days, including travelling and acclimatization. The route that we're using on this particular presentation is on the southern route, but we also do the northern route if it's a case that you're interested in doing that. The grade itself is moderate to strenuous. That means every day we'll be doing 6 hours trekking approximately. The summit day will be between 12 and 14 hours. For your fitness, it's again between moderate and strenuous, and we will be doing some fitness assessments down here in Kerry if you wish to join in. It is not a very technical mountain. You will have a certain amount of techniques to use. We will be going through crampons and ice axe, harnessing, and indeed roping up. We usually go, as I say, June, July, August and September, and it's in the Caucasus mountain range, which is, by the way, without a shadow of a doubt, very, very spectacular. As I said, it is one of the 7 summits. It's the 3rd in that series. You know, usually like you have Kosciuszko, Kilimanjaro, then Mt Elbrus, and I know some of you that are tuning in already have done Kilimanjaro, so the grade as stress wise is about the same, but we are now completely different type of terrain because we will be operating for at least 7 days in the snow and ice. Of course, Aconcagua, then Mount Everest, Mount Vincent, Mount McKinley are the other mountains involved here that are, you know, as part of the 7 continents. By the way, I have actually climbed all the highest points in the 7 continents, not once but twice, and became the first person to do so, including Mount Everest from both north side and south side. Well, Mount Elbrus is a very unusual mountain. Its weather is very, very unpredictable, so we have to prepare for this. And what I want you to do over the next while is I want you to be, when you're looking at the slides, because lots of questions are coming in relation to what gear do we wear. So if I can say to you, like, just keep your eye on the gear, it'll give you a fair idea. Most of the time it will, you know, just entail you having gear that's, you know, suitable for winter mountaineering here in Ireland, climbing on Carn Tool or whatever. It is a bit colder, so therefore we will actually trump that up by either having, you know, down jackets, extra down mitts. Other than that, you know, like a good sleeping bag. Now all of those can be hired, you know, out there or here before you go if you don't have them already. And of course we will be using double plastic boots, crampons, ice axes and harness. So weather, yes, unpredictable. And let me just show you just a few slides because it will set the scene, like when we're talking about when people ask what kind of gear. Here we are on a summit day, absolutely perfect. You couldn't get better. It's 20 degrees Celsius, and as you can see, you could take off your t-shirt down to your shirt. It's amazing. You can see actually people there wearing the crampons and the harnesses so that we can clip in easy. It doesn't mean that we'll be roped up all the time, but there is one section on a head wall coming up off the col which we might do. Of course, this is another day that we went out, and as you can see here, it's bad weather. We went actually in perfect conditions, but it turned very fast to a full-blown blizzard, minus 20 degrees Celsius, and now you can see everybody is in full attire. And if you want to succeed, we just have to be prepared for the facts, like, you know, whether it's climbing in Ireland, Scotland, or anywhere else, you can have a perfect day and then all of a sudden it turned. On this particular day, you know, we were near the col and we turned and came back, but we have enough time. You know, that's the reason why I extend the time on Mount Elbrus, because most people fail because they don't give it enough time. Now, well, all great journeys start with a dream, goal or a vision about going somewhere. So I know the fact that you're listening to this, and if it's a case you stay tuned into it, I know that you have an interest. And I do hope that you get a chance to come with us. But if not, like, this is the information for you that you will require and to climb Mount Elbrus. Well, for us, usually we all leave from Dublin Airport. On this, you know, trip, we do like to have everybody join, you know, before we travel out. Either meet us in Moscow or Mineral Nevadi, and we move from there, because it's not that easy to travel around the interior of Russia itself. So a little bit, I want to tell you about the visa, because it is not like getting a visa to go into Nepal or indeed Africa. When we move into Russia, it is, you know, very bureaucratic. So we have to get an invitation from a Russian bureau, of which we will organize once you sign on. In turn, that invitation comes and you have to fill out a visa form, of which we will help you. We have to apply to the Russian consul here in Dublin or London or America, if it's a case you're coming from America, to get the visa. And it's very important that every area that we will be traveling in, that is named on the particular invitation, which in turn will be transferred to the bottom corner you see here. It's an official visa. You cannot get it from outside in Russia. It has to come from here. And the other side of the thing, just to remember in relation to your passport, is that your passport has to be 6 months, you know, in 6 months before it expires, before you go out. So that's actually to do with the visas, and it does take about, 2 weeks to have them done properly, right? So as you see, like, our flight will leave Dublin, or coming from wherever you're going. And the entry points for Russia, there's not too many of them, but we usually use St. Petersburg or Moscow. That means we have to fly north. We have to fly right up north, and you'll see from the map in the minute, that we have to also come 1,550 kilometers down south again. Usually on day 2 or at the end of our expeditions, we go and we visit either Moscow. At the moment, I'm just going to show Moscow, but we also do St. Petersburg. But Moscow is a vibrant city. Like, we go to see the Kremlin and all the different churches that are around it. It's a fascinating place, and I'm just going to show some slides of, if it's a case you wanted to stay an extra day or two or extend your stay to do Moscow and St. Petersburg, we can talk to you on this. This is actually just a round red square, and believe it or not, here we can see Putin. Well, okay, it's a joke, Putin. I could never figure out how they leave him actually march around, and he charges $10 per photograph. So, but lots of people believed initially when we got this done that Putin had come out to see us. Red Square at night, absolutely fantastic, and the city is a vibrant city. You could say it's the Paris of Europe, but it's in Moscow. If it's a case you're interested in theatre or the Bolshoi Ballet, the big thing here is to book it before you get in, because it is, very hard to get tickets for it. And then we go around and we experience the culture of this amazing, vibrant city. Here we can see at some of the Orthodox churches. And we spend time relaxing and in some good restaurants before we either go down to the Central Caucasus or before we come back up. But here we are now. We're up north. You can see Moscow there at the top end of your thing, and a lot of the federations are actually dotted around, like the 32 counties of Ireland. But once we leave Moscow, we will make our way down to Mineral Valley. Now, it is 1,550 kilometers of a journey to go to Mineral Valley. It means mineral waters. It's, when we usually arrive there, it can be 30 to 40 degrees, depending on what time of the summer we're going. It's situated, and it's kind of the starting point for the Caucasus mountain range, and as I said, jammed between the Caspian and the Black Sea. Now, what we've done here is we've actually come down over a lot of the Russian federations, and more down south we have a lot of in states trying to actually gain independence. Of course, you'd all heard of Chechnya. I was down there initially when the war was going on, and on one occasion I was arrested and thrown in jail in Kabardino-Balkaria, which, by the way, will be our destination. So Mineral Valley is the central point for the Caucasus, and as you can see all around here now, you have the different states. You have Dagestan, Chechnya, Ossetia, Northern Ossetia, Kabardino-Balkaria, which is a region we will be going into. Once we land at the airport, and again, very few people speak English, we will be collected by Anna, who's our regional director in the Central Caucasus. We load up the bus or jeeps, and we head on a journey heading for, it's about 250 kilometers towards Mt Elbrus. And as you can see here, this is just about 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers outside Mineral Valley. But Elbrus is a massive giant, as it actually pushes its way up to the clouds right, okay, from the agrarian-based farmlands all around it. On the way, as you will see here, we'll be making our way towards Chechenian border and then take a hard right into the Baskan Valley. I suppose the greatest dangers here is the cows on the road. Believe it or not, it much reminds me like being in Nepal. Nepal, as you know yourself, where the cows are sacred. But here in this section of Russia, if you knock down a cow, you are at fault. And even if the cows are strolling around the road like this. So we've had a number of near misses as our drivers actually make their way towards our destination. Now, I'm going to use a few maps because I think maps will give you a better idea of the areas that we climb on. And I'm also going to, use dotted lines like you see here. The red line here is coming up the Baskan Valley. So what you will find here is that the walls of the mountains actually cascade high above you. So it's a very aesthetic journey as we make our way towards Chiget. It's in the Baskan Valley and you see it here with the red dot above. This will be our hotel. It's based at approximately 2,000 meters. So we are actually rising as we come into the mountain ranges in the Caucasus. We usually stay in good hotels, usually 3 or 4 star hotels. In the area we're going to, which is Terskal and Chiget, it is the main ski resort for a lot of the Russians as they come down. On one occasion I remember staying here in the hotel. It's where the military usually had based themselves in Terskal, and I was in with the KGB. This is just after Perestroika and Glasnost. So the accommodation is good, the food is good. We concentrate on the fact that an army moves on its stomach. We will be staying in this hotel for 4 to 5 days, and what we're doing here is we're acclimatizing. We're getting our hearts and lungs expanded, and every day we will be trekking. And I'm going to talk a little bit about trekking and altitude just to give you an idea of what it is like to start to acclimatize, because your heart and your lungs have to expand in size. As I said, for the few days we go out every day, come back to our evening meals, relax, have a few pints before we ascend on the mountain. Every morning we have briefings and every evening we have debriefings, and we talk about acclimatization. People are interested on the fact, like, do we use Diamox, Ginkgo, or use nothing at all? And we go through all of those with you. Some people, I have never used any of the Diamox or Ginkgo, but I don't object about them being had. Like, we've had hundreds of people summit here and thousands of people summit on different high altitude mountains around the world, and people ask, like, what do people do? Approximately 50% of the people take something and 50% don't. Some people take it as a prophylactic, others don't, but we will actually go through all of that with you, and we would be some of the top experts in the world in relation to high altitude mountaineering. Well, here we are, we're at Chiget, we're at 2,000 meters, but today what we're going to do, and if you look here, right, okay, at this slide, we're going to climb Mount Chiget, 3,472 meters, which by the way is 1,472 meters above our base camp in Chiget. Today we are not going to climb the whole lot of this because we want to acclimatize. We are going to try to fool our mind into thinking that it is at high altitude, then descend and start our acclimatization proper. So today we're going to take a route along this red line here that you see. It's on the left hand side from the hotel. Initially we will take a chairlift to get higher on the mountain up to the snow line of which you see above before we ascend. And I'm just going to talk you through this right now. Acclimatization is most important. Proper acclimatization will ensure that if it's a case we get the weather breaks, we will have the ability to reach the summit of this mountain. I'll talk about gear also later. So here we can see now, like, as we come up from the valley below, up in a chairlift, we will get up to about 2,800 meters before we start walking to the summit at 3,472. I'm just showing this shot here because if you look over, this is Joe. If you look over his shoulder, you will see there's a path on the far valley on the other side. This is a route we'll be taking the next day when we go to the observatory. Once we get off the chairlift, you know, we just have a briefing of what's around. You can see, like, you know, we are in a mountain range. The mountains are starting to protrude actually all around us, whether the back or the front. Once we leave the chairlift, we are now actually walking on a narrow ridge as we make our way, you know, up to the summit of Mount Elbrus. And this is absolutely gorgeous. This is the backdrop. This is Dungus Run, right? A very technical mountain. And as you can see here, if you look at the glacier, it's like the number 7. So when we're walking up this ridge, what is amazing is that we get some amazing views of our objective, which is, you can see the twin cones of the east and the west summit of Elbrus in the back, but it also gives us a visualization of where we're going. We take a few shots, and these are some shots, you know, from looking around. And as I said, most of the time that we will be climbing on Mt Elbrus, we will be above that snow line. In other words, where the clouds are showing here, that's our objective. It's on the opposite side of the valley, but just to give you a feeling for it. After a reasonable day out, you know, we try to stay up high at least for an hour or two, and what happens, our brain picks up on the fact that we are at high altitude, and then we fool it again, right? Okay, by staying there for an hour and then descending back to base camp in Elbrus. And just an interesting one here, because when you are in this area, you will find all, like, if you're a car enthusiast, it's amazing. And like, if you actually just keep your eye on the different type of cars and jeeps and stuff like that throughout this presentation, which I've taken because I actually love these Russian cars myself. So here we are back at Elbrus, back to the hotel, and the following day, you know, you can see here the red dot again below, and you can see to the right there's a little yellow dot. This is the observatory of which we'll be traveling to from the following day. But now we are actually starting from 2,000 meters. We're going to walk up part of the Baskin Valley into Terskal, and then we're going to start actually ascending, you know, up onto the mountain to the snout of the glacier at the base of Mt Elbrus. So we're on the right side, and we'll be staying here for the rest of our acclimatization. Again, very interesting from a cultural point of view. This is a Muslim community, a very, very peaceful Muslim community. We will be passing through the agrarian base of the farmlands below. We will, as you can see from the cows, up into the high alpine meadow, then across a very barren landscape before we actually reach the observatory. And of course, again, we will see some Russian cars. This is just to give you a look at what I would call the alpine meadow. If you're into flowers, it's super spectacular at the times we're going. These are all wildflowers, by the way, that are up here, and you know, it really gives this alpine effect. Also en route today, we will come across like a major waterfall, which is absolutely gorgeous. And it's all about acclimatization. It's about going pole, 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 as we actually make our way to the observatory, up along this track, and we hit the observatory. Now, if you look on the far side, left-hand side of the observatory, you'll see the snout of the glacier again. But if you were to follow your line across the difference between the bright brown and the dark brown, this glacier only 20-30 years ago was a way further out. So you could see all throughout the world, of which I can see myself, having been on expeditions for the last 25 to 30 years, global warming is having a fierce effect. When we're here at the observatory, we're getting a closer look now at our objective, because we're now looking nearly directly across onto the snow line, and we can see the route that we will be climbing on Mt Elbrus, which now it actually just shows you that it's a lot steeper from the other side, which isn't too bad. Before we descend and head back to our base, back through Terskal, back along the valley, and back to our hotel. Again, every day that we come back, we have absolutely fantastic food. Sometimes we eat inside, sometimes we eat outside. But again, it's fantastic to, you know, to taste the cuisine of the area, which is very Western, by the way. And, you know, for as long as I've been going out here, our diet has always been suitable for those going. The next day, on day 6, we actually make our way down the valley this time, and we go to Elbrus village, before we head up this actually beautiful side valley to another snout of a glacier on Elbrus. And this is all about acclimatizing. You know, we usually at this stage take a van or a bus and we make our way down to the Elbrus village, which you're seeing here, and you can see, you know, the modern type of Russia and the older, you know, agrarian based type Russia before we make our way, you know, up a narrow gorge through a wooded alpine region and up into the green pasture valley, which brings us to the snout of the glacier that I spoke about on Mt Elbrus. Another day of acclimatization. And I just want to assure you, right, okay, that acclimatization isn't easy work. We're trekking easy ground, as you can see, all the time. And also we're getting a chance, like for an hour or 2 hours in the day, to relax at high altitude so that it tells our brain and our body that we are at altitude. A little bit about gear. People have actually just sent in questions to say, like, do we need like just trekking boots like in Ireland? No, we will use trekking boots for most of the period outside, but once we move on to the glacier and high on the glacier, we have to use double boots. We also, it's recommended that you have a down jacket, good hats, good socks, good gloves to be able to make this ascent. So we can take your sizes and before we go out, way before we go out, to ensure that they have your sizes in the valley if you haven't got these stuff already. Now, the next day we're going to go to the Mer station. Now, if you can see, we're slightly climbing up every day to a higher altitude to get back to where we were on the first day. And on day 7, we make our way towards the Mer station, which is at 3,500 meters. By the way, this is the Mer station. And then we descend to the valley again. And this is going to be our final night in the valley, where we have, as I always say, the Last Supper. We have a brief, we check everyone's gear to ensure everyone has everything, which is very, very important. At this stage we have been briefed and debriefed about all the different aspects on the mountain. People can now visualize it. The guides we have on the mountain are some of the best in the world. There's Pembegelji Sherpa, 7 times Mt Elbrus, K2, and basically was the hero in a film that I recently shot with my partners, Image Now Films, on K2 and the death of Ger MacDonald and 11 other people. We also wrote a book called The Summit. If anyone is interested in, you know, getting Christmas presents or ever given presents, we now have the film in DVD. We also, it's on Netflix. We also have a book, you know, which you can purchase on our website or in Amazon, and also an audiobook and an ebook. So therefore all of that is there for you. We also have Sasha and Dimar. It's on the bottom. They're absolutely an amazing couple. Your man is a Winter Olympic champion. And then we have George Gutaf, my good friend, who I first went climbing with on Everest in 1993. He's one of the top climbers in Russia. And they're basically the core of our main people, as well as Anna, of which you've seen earlier, our regional director there. The following morning, and it's day 8 and we're ready to go. At this stage we have all our food packed up. We will be bringing a chef onto the mountain. We'll be using fantastic accommodation, of which I will show you. So it's ready to go. Everyone is apprehensive at this stage, and as you can see, there's a huge cross section of ages. Like, you know, on this particular trip that I'm showing here, you will see that there's also a 70-year-old that went climbing. There he is there, Greg, on the right hand side. So we have a big cross section of ages, you know, that can attempt this. It's basically the beginning of your alpine type of climbing. So if you haven't done something like this before, well, then what we do is you can come down to Kerry on a weekend and we do dry tooling, and you see later how we will actually take that onto the mountain and do some training here too. So all gear packed. We pack them usually into duffel bags, and our day bags are usually 35 to 40 litre. Our journey begins here at Asso, which you see here. It's at 2,350 kilometers. We were already after climbing to 3,500 meters, which is the Mer station. So on this occasion, we pack it into a cable car, all of our gear, because we're now moving strictly on to the mountain itself. So everything is packed into the cable car, and as you can see, you know, like they're after putting in some new chairlifts and cable cars at the moment, but these are the old ones. All the gear is packed in, and we make our way. Today we're going to make our way down to 4,050 meters. So we're going to walk from 3,500 meters to 4,050 meters, while at the same time our gear is going to be ferried up by chairlift and by rat track like a snowcat to the accommodation while we walk it. So here we are, we get off at the Mer station, 3,500 meters, pack on all our gear. In the meantime, what we've now done with our guides and some of our porters, we've sent it up by chairlift. So now we're making our way from the Mer station to the barrels of which you see here, and then all our gear is brought up here and then brought by snow track to our accommodation, which is at the Elbrus, which is one of the most modern you know, cabins on the mountain. So here we can see, you know, when we get here, we do give them a hand to take it off the chairlift, put it onto the rat track, or the snowcat as we call it. All our heavy equipment is now carried up the mountain. Now for the next number of days, like from day 7 to day 12 at least, we're going to be on the snow. So therefore, you know, we will be doing, you know, acclimatization and doing switchback attempts up and down the mountain to get ourselves properly acclimatized. If you look here at this picture, you will see there's 2 rock out brands, and then if you follow the tracks up higher up the mountain, you have what we call the Pastahoff rocks, and then beyond that you can see the track rising to a traverse. We usually try to acclimatize to the higher, you know, before tracks there that you're looking at before we do the traverse. That way we're properly acclimatized. So here we are, day 7 to 12. Transfer our bags onto the rat track, while at the same time now we're starting to acclimatize, because it's very, very important for us to get, you know, as much acclimatization as possible. Now all I'm doing here is I'm asking you to take a look at the gear that the people are wearing, because it now gives you a benchmark. In other words, we are up in ultraviolet light, so therefore it's to cover your head and your hands, but at the same time it can go from about, you know, 20 degrees plus, and even sometimes 25 degrees plus, down to about -20, depending on what days we have. Being on the mountain, it's all about actually enjoying it. Here we can see where we're actually, you know, having some crack with some Russian climbers, and we base ourselves here at one of the most modern and comfortable huts on the mountain. And my whole idea really is to get your mind and your body settled to the high altitude that you're at. And as you can see, very, very clean, very, very modern, and you know, it holds about 12 to the hut, and this is where we usually actually hang out. As you can see here, it's the food, the canteen, the beds, it's 12 to the bunk beds. And then if we decide to go higher on the mountain for the final day, we go up past the Priat and we stay in cabins like this. By the way, this is just a shot of the old Priat hut. It was very famous in World War II, and this is a situation before it was burned. And this is a shot that I took as I was walking in the door one day. Someone had fired like petrol on a stove, and the whole thing just blew up. Today the only remnants of it now, right, okay, is the old diesel hut which is alongside of it, but they have a number of other cabins. This is the huts actually higher up the mountain, and you know, they're quite basic, but they're good. On the Elbrus of the one that we stay in, like, that has actually a toilet with running water. Another thing that I actually very much, you know, am very favourable of is good food. As I said, an army marches on its stomach, so you have breakfast, you have porridge, bacon, eggs, sausages, salami, cheese for lunch, and dinner then, like, you can, like, we'll have everything from potato soup every day. We have meat, chicken, fish, pasta, pizza in our diet, and plus chocolates and lots of water. So as we're acclimatizing here, as you can see, we are in a mountainous glacier mountainside, and you can see on the bottom hand side there's a lot of crevasses. Hopefully we won't stray across into them. We'll be trying to stay on a route which is quite safe. But what we will do, and you'll see here later in our training, we will have a day of technical training, which is crampons and ice axe. And here you could see, like, you know, Dimar, as he's actually showing all the rest of the team how to ice axe brake. And here we can now see, right, okay, some of the team, you know, learning the different techniques. Now we do it here, if you look at Pemba at the top and myself, like we're training some of the team here on ice axe, crampon techniques, not alone for Elbrus, but for other areas around the world as well. Here we have all the crampons on, and we try to ensure that people actually are able to do this very fast, because if it gets cold and you're caught out, right, okay, you have to be able to, you know, learn nearly how to do these things blindfolded. The ice axe arrest system. And this is a great day on the mountain, but it's also a great day here in Kerry if you come down. So people are learning how to do ice axe and crampon arrest on their back, up the front, somersaulting over. And the reason why we do this is that the conditions on the mountain change. It could be very icy or it could be very soft snow. So therefore we just need to have a lot of the techniques, including, as you see here, fixed rope techniques, that if the upper reaches of the mountain are very icy, we put in a fixed rope. So we train people into fixed rope techniques as well. Every day from day 5 to 7, we leave the hut below and we go higher up the mountain, again all the time trying to get acclimatized. But it is every day is spectacular as you're overlooking the Caucasus mountain range. And this is our high point at about 4,700 meters. We've spent a couple of days trying to acclimatize to this, and then, as you can see, we descend and back to our hut at Elbrus. A warning of to bring us factor 50 to sunburn. We are in ultraviolet, and we definitely do not want people getting sunburn because it can take you out. We're now all prepared. Our bodies and our hearts and our lungs are after expanding in size, and the summit day then is 10, 11, 12 and then 13 as well if it's a case that we need it. So we're ready to go for the summit. We're heading for 5,643 or 42 meters, and here now you can see like a kind of a map of the area, and the route we'll be taking is up between the two rock out bands, up past the half rock, up as far as the traverse, across to the saddle and onto the left hand summit, which is only 20 meters higher than the other summit. So here we can see, and I just want to throw it in here again, bad weather conditions. We have to be prepared. We have to try to ensure that like we know about crampons, ice axe and stuff like that. We're not roped up on this section because of the fact it's soft snow, but you see the changes in the minute. This is one of those summit days that everyone is geared up, goggles, wind jackets, good hoods and mittens. So the bad weather can actually come in at any time. So therefore we descended back down. This is amazing. We descended back down on this day, and then we waited a further day or two before we ascended again, and the weather broke. And lo and behold, we usually leave at about 2 or 3 in the morning, make our way to our high point. From our high point we go on the traverse, and as you can see now, like, darkness turns to twilight, twilight turns to sunrise, and the whole Caucasus mountain range open up below you as you're now looking out at a spectacular vista as the high mountains now protrude through puff clouds as we make our way from sunrise to daylight, and then across this amazing traverse with all of the Caucasus range below us onto the saddle. And what we are now doing is taking the left hand side of the saddle, and it is here where it depends on the snow conditions that we rope up. And this is actually a good day, but you can see now, like, as we're rising from the saddle up onto the summit snow slope, you can now look back across the traverse and you see some more groups coming up here behind us, and the views are absolutely spectacular. The terrain is at about 30 to 40 degrees, and on this occasion, like, it is very, very crusty ice. So you rope up onto us, and my guides, and we make our way now towards the top summit slope, and when it steepens up we put in fixed ropes, as you see here. The fixed rope techniques that you have learned make sure that you're actually protected, and then onto the summit slope, which is a flat, meandering, undulating slope to the summit. And this is in a perfect day, and I've had so many groups up there, but every time we get here, like, the views are absolutely spectacular, and there's not once over the hundreds of people that we've had up here, you know, that, like, people just get that same buzz, that same enjoyment of what it's like to stand on top of a continental high point. And of course, after all of that, you can see the different gear that people are wearing here, from nothing at all down to t-shirts, like up onto full down jackets with full balaclavas and everything up. So therefore it can go from +20 to -20 degrees Celsius. And at this stage everybody is in mind for celebrating. At this stage it's time to go down, so we head down on the final day from the summit. Everyone is, you know, delighted with themselves. We're now ready for the party. So we get down to the valley, and as you can see, we're ready for a few beers of Elbrus. We usually have a celebration on the night we come down, and also a presentation of certificates for those who have reached the summit. Well, that's it from that point of view. I hope, like, you know, that on this particular side of it you've learned about the trekking, the routes, the altitude sickness, the training, the gear and the psychology. So now let's talk a little bit about training. Well, here at the Mountain Lodge we have Ireland's leading mountaineering school. So therefore, if you ever want to do anything anywhere in the world to become self-sufficient, we're the ideal place to come. We do lots of different things, not alone here in Kerry, but all around the world: walking, trekking, expedition, navigation, skills rope, winter skills, campcraft, glacier travel, planning, logistics. If you just want to plan a trip yourself, we go to lots of different places around the world. But one of the things we pride ourselves on is our team. And here is some of our team here, you know, that we have. And our main reason for having a good team here is we offer 24/7, not alone to you, but to your family, because a lot of our people go into remote regions of the world, and it's important to stay in 24/7 contact. There's my sister. Some of you may already have spoken to her. That's Abina. And she's in charge and manages, general manager for Ireland. On some of my guides you will see on the centre, and like, I'm based here at the Mountain Lodge in Beaufort at the edge of Strakean on the McKillicuddy Reeks. Our technical team is on the right hand side. I'm an adventure leader and an advisor, and then we have Tony Nation, training director, and of course Pembegelji Sherpa, instructor and guide, and John Higgs, also over 30 odd years in the business of instructing. In Russia we have our offices in Moscow and in Terskal. We can see here we have Natasha, Sasha, Dimar, and on the bottom is Anna, who's our regional director in the Terskal area. The training we provide is if it's a case you want to come down and you may never have put on a crampons or ice axe, but what we try to do is to train you in here on dry tooling so that you can be efficient when you're going. And here is a team that we've had out on Elbrus. We go through all of the gear, the ropes, the tying in, and like all this training and campcraft, if you want it, all this training goes in for other expeditions around the world. And it is great fun, like, just to come down here. People just come down and actually do it, even if they're not heading away on an expedition, just to learn all the techniques that's required once you move into alpine, or indeed like climbing big routes, you know, whether it's Howling Ridge, Primroses, or Scottish winter mountaineering, come down to have lessons here. Here we can see, like, we go through all the psychology and the preparation in relation to gear, because gear is very, very important. We go through the boots, you know, and what type of boots, etc. We also, because lots of people ask about fitness, we run simulated trekking weekends that actually takes out a final summit day. So therefore it is okay for you to come down. Now, for everybody that books on to our expeditions, you know, from an early point of view, there is a free day training in Kerry. Now you can extend that by actually adding on other days, but it's on a climate current tool, because we do like to meet all of the people that we actually have going on expeditions, no matter where. Right, I suppose the details for you is very important to know what's going to cost. The basic land cost, which includes, right, okay, all your accommodation and everything you have here, includes permits, hotels, guides and all logistics, 6 nights in secure hotel, full board, 1 night in Moscow, and everything on the mountain, including some of the best guides in the world. The flights, because of the fact, we just actually cut out here for some reason. The flights usually cost between 650 and 900 euro, depending on when you're booking. You might be asking why go with Falvey Irish and Worldwide Adventures. Well, number one, we have some of the top guides in the world. We are probably recognized as having a huge expertise in high altitude mountaineering. We are there for you and your family. In other words, from the time that you book on with us, we have contact with you, your family, and while people are on the mountain. We personally handle all individuals and groups, whether it's a charity group, a company group, whether it's a hill walking group, and outside that, if it's a case you just want to join in as an individual or a few people. We also handle the fact if it's a case you want us to handle your logistics, we will do that, and you lead your own trips. We have 7 days a week on call. If problems happen, we actually coordinate and do all the evacuations as well, and we meet all the team. But most of all, we have world class experience, high altitude mountaineering guides that are actually recognized from around the world. But most of all, we have fun. So other places we go, this is just to let you know, the Inca Trail, Mt Elbrus, Aconcagua, we have for every young club for 50 to 90 year olds, Mount McKinley, like we go to the Antarctic, the Arctic, cross country skiing. And you know, that is for me now the end of this presentation. If it's a case that you have any questions, you know, I cannot say like, you know, please, you know, just ask me now, because these are on the live webinars. This is actually a copy of one. So just have questions, just email into info@pafalvey.com, or just ring me or Abina or one of my guides at 064 6644181, and we'll only be too delighted to go through this with you. So on that note, I'd just like to thank you. You know, I have 2 pieces of video to follow to sign off on. So on that note, thank you very much. Thank you for coming with me on this amazing journey. Every time I speak about it or talk about it or look at these slides, it brings me back. So in actual fact, not alone do I come down here 2 or 3 times a year, but also every time I give this presentation, like it sends a shiver up through my spine. And I hope you enjoyed it, and that you do get a chance to come with Pat Falvey Irish and Worldwide Adventures. We are Ireland's leading adventure company. We're a family-based company, and you know, we have fun. On that note, thank you, and I'll sign off with the videos.